This video is going to be a look at two of the most important plays from the Lions' 21-20 win over the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. Two that are, I guess, non-traditional for different reasons. First will be the 4th and 2, the fake punt conversion by Jalen Reeves-Maybin for 3 yards or 2.5-yard gain, where the Lions really look like they just have a genetic advantage in terms of the people they have on their punt team versus the Chiefs' punt return team. And we'll get to the film in a minute. And then the other non-traditional play that I'll focus on here is the 3rd and 1 that I still kind of can't believe, where the Lions line up in 11 personnel and put Amon-Ra St. Brown at fullback. I just think it's another illustration of how unique a football player he is, even in the NFL, among the best players of the best. Amon-Ra St. Brown sticks out as a guy who can do a lot of things and is asked to do more because he's really talented and appears to be really dedicated. So we'll lead up to the 4th and 2 punt by talking about the Lions offense. First possession, 3 and out. A punt. Second possession, there's a 3rd and 7, backed up to their own 12-yard line. And there's pressure on Goff. He gets the ball out, I think, to Marvin Jones Jr. It's complete for like a 4 or 5-yard gain. So sets up a 4th and 2. And you think that they're going to go 3 and out on their first 2 possessions. And Dan Campbell calls a fake punt. It's a wedge concept. If you've never played against a double wing football team, I'm not talking about double slot. I'm talking about double wing. Foot-to-foot splits, fullback's nose right up the butt crack of the quarterback who's under center. They run wedge, and they're going to run it early. And the wedge concept is no fun to coach against or play against. It's exactly what you see right here. A whole bunch of bodies. Now, in this case, there's 3 less bodies in the picture, although you can see the punter here. In true double wing football, you'd have tight ends here, and then this guy would be your quarterback or your fullback. You'd have all 11 guys within probably 1 grenade's distance of each other in terms of the damage that could be done to them. But the genetic advantage that I was talking about, let's just talk about who's on the field. I did this a little bit in the reaction video. So you have linebackers, tight ends, and fullbacks, Jason Cabinda, who doesn't really get a hold of anybody on this play, to be honest with you. But there's Jalen Reeves-Maybin, the guy who caught the direct snap. Who do the Chiefs have on the field here? Well, they've got a running back in Jerick McKinnon. Tough dude, but he's a running back. Just looking at the jersey numbers, 27, 23. Leo Chenal's helmet is down in there, so he's an inside linebacker. You've got another solid defensive player here, 50. I think that's Gay. I'm not sure who 44 is in the middle. But the Lions, I suspect, felt like they just had an advantage based on who they had on the field. Jack Campbell, Brock Wright, Jason Cabinda, Malcolm Rodriguez. The ball carrier was an inside linebacker, Jalen Reeves-Maybin. At the time that this happened, and I noticed the personnel, I thought to myself, it seemed like the Lions thought their inside linebackers, fullbacks, and tight ends could block better than the offensive players could tackle and block destruct for the Chiefs. A very weird dynamic, almost like a reverse competition where the defensive players have to block and the offensive players have to tackle after a turnover. But in this case, it's by design. You never know why a team does these things and if they're going to check in or check out of them. But you see 8 players here for the Chiefs. Oftentimes, this would be a check out of it. Most of our fakes were to the boundary side for various reasons that I won't go into this video, but you would just get a check on how many numbers were over there or who was over there, depending on what the type of return was going to be, wall, mirror, etc., or middle return. So in any case, the Lions hedge their bets, 4th and 2 from their own, I think, 17 or 16-yard line, and they get it. True guts by Dan Campbell. Him and Brad Holmes, the 2 defining personalities, I guess, for this Lions organization, both seem to be willing to go outside the box or against the grain or against the rules, if you will, in terms of how they draft, how they'll play, and how they'll make calls on 4th down. So that led to the end of the second possession, a touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown on a mesh concept. Jared Goff looks to the running back side. People call this mesh rail. I mean, it's just mesh to me. But you got the running back releasing to one side. I've said this often in videos. You end up with the drag opposite that one. the running back, I should say, the drag opposite the running back is typically the guy who breaks open to me. And it's in this space down in here because whether it's man or zone, that running back's route, essentially a wheel out of the backfield, call it what you want, opens up all this space, whether it's man or zone. And the drag just runs onto it. You can see it's the bottom side drag, at least in my experience, that comes from the opposite side of the running back. You've got the top side drag here, clearly picking at least one defender, maybe two. You've got a low hole dropper or a free safety perhaps that's sitting there waiting on it. Doesn't matter. The leverage and the space is created for Amon-Ra St. Brown to run onto. He could even, go all the way to the pylon if he gets any kind of block from there. But point is, that touchdown, their first touchdown of the game, they only had two, was made possible by just a truly gutsy call and execution of, I don't really like to do this, but occasionally you have to when you're coaching. You look at, well, who's our best 12 players? Who's our best 15 players? Who's our best 25 players? And at some point, like that punt there, you end up with your players' numbers 20 through 31 matched up against the Chiefs' players. And if you don't feel like they're putting their 20th or 21st through 32nd player on the field, if they're putting their 40th through 51st and you've got an advantage, that's why I called it a genetic mismatch. Just an advantage in the punt team's favor. I got no idea how Brad Holmes and them made that decision, but it was, how Dan Campbell and them made that decision, but it was a cool one. All right, 3rd and 12, the other touchdown drive they had. This is the 8th possession in the 4th quarter. 3rd and 12, this is after a penalty. Get an 18-yard completion to Josh Reynolds on this deeper dig. I think some people call this dagger. If you get the end zone angle, I'm not going to give it to you here, to be honest with you. It's a pretty good drop by George Karlaftis. The window is tight, and then additionally, a blitz off the edge by L'Jarius Sneed. In a video Friday night talking about the Lions offense, I indicated that I believe that it was the tight split, which was an automatic in certain cases by the Chiefs corners. Automatic just basically means if you get a tight split, it's your job to make a call to the safety or the nickel or whatever to let him know I'm gone and we got to figure out the coverage here. As long as there's not some other coverage on the opposite side that negates what I want to do here, that automatic stands. That's hence the term automatic. Another thought that I've had now after I've had some time to think about it is they're doing this often to Sewell's side. And I think they didn't want to attack a walled city, meaning Sewell is really good at what he does. So rather than have one edge rusher match up against him and presumably lose a lot of matchups individually, they would try to figure out a way to get two guys. Sewell can't possibly block two of them. This is the 4th iteration of this blitz that I've seen from Sewell's side. It doesn't mean that Sewell's doing anything wrong. Actually, it means the exact opposite. I think the Chiefs may have been blitzing tight splits from their left, the Lions' right, to get two guys blitzing, one inside of Sewell's B-gap, one outside. No possible way for him to account for both of those guys. But in any case, Sneed is there just a little bit late. Goff, give him credit for standing there, gets this throw off, like I said, 3rd and 12, a little bit of a floater, and then George Karlaftis, floater only because Sneed impacted his elbow, I think, and then George Karlaftis is in the window, and the ball ends up flying just to his left from the end zone angle. Search it out if you want to. I'm sticking to the all-22 angle for now. Ends up converting for a first down, like I said, on the 8th possession. What's that lead to? The other anomalous play or non-traditional play, if you will. This is Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I didn't notice it live time until the NBC broadcast showed the end zone angle in between plays, this play and the next play, and I saw 14 there. I was like, what? I didn't realize it was 11 personnel. I pass out the game notes or I share the game notes. I don't know if you guys, check it out. More than welcome to. I'll put it in the description here. I do that just so people can, see the documentation of what I do live. And of course, I'll make some mistakes and miss some plays. But the reason is the reason I'm showing it to you is I'm trying to keep track of as much offensive information as possible. And in this case, I didn't know it was 11 personnel. But look, live, I didn't know. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown taking on George Karlaftis on a kick-out block. Now, Karlaftis kind of hedged to the outside some. He was dealing with Brock Wright. Still says a lot about Amon-Ra St. Brown. Says a lot about the Lions. It says a lot about their mentality. And I said this in the reaction video. What they expect of their players, all of them. That's a wide receiver with 200 catches in 2 years of his NFL career, and he's being asked to line up at fullback. I know some wide receivers that would suddenly have a sore heel or a sore calf muscle and beg out of that portion of practice. But they find a time to practice it. They find a time to be really good at a number of somewhat anomalous things. 11 personnel power with your star wide receiver, slot wide receiver at that. I think he's 5'9", 5'10", 200 pounds, 205 pounds. It's not a great block, but it was enough to get a piece of the edge defender, in this case Karlaftis, and get the first down. I thought it was a super anomalous play. I just don't imagine there's going to be many teams line up their wide receivers at fullback this season. I wonder when the next time is Ben Johnson's going to do that. I really don't pay attention to sports media, so if you're in the comment section and you want to let me know if anyone asked Amon-Ra St. Brown about that or Ben Johnson about that now or later this week, feel free to let me know in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of the video breakdown and how this seems to be just another example, well, two examples, of Dan Campbell taking a different approach to building or moving the Lions team forward in a way that a lot of people envy because they wish they could do things differently sometimes as well. Appreciate you guys' time. If you think other Lions fans would enjoy this content, please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it on social media to help this content get more reach.